Good. Well, good afternoon, everybody. As we gather here today, we acknowledge we are on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edwards School of Business. Or should I say, welcome to the accredited Edwards School of Business. Thank you. Our accreditation was endorsed within the past 2 weeks by what I consider to be the gold standard accreditation agency worldwide. We are in the top 5% of all business schools worldwide. Welcome to the 11th presentation in the Gordon and Maureen Haddock Entrepreneurial Speaker Series. This exceptional event today coincides with our centennial year as a School of Business. It is a time for us to celebrate and recognize all that we've accomplished over the past century. And speaking of those who have helped us to accomplish so much as a business school, I have the pleasure today not of introducing our guest speaker, but of introducing Gordon and Maureen Haddock. Gordon and Maureen are great friends of the Edwards School of Business. They are both proud alumni of the University of Saskatchewan. Gordon graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce degree. Maureen is a graduate of the College of Education. It has been said that, quote, "They who give money give much. They who give time give more. But they who give of themselves give all." The Haddocks have truly given of themselves. Besides their treasure, besides their time, they give of themselves, and they are true entrepreneurs. In fact, to me, it is absolutely fitting that they were spearheading the Gordon and Maureen Haddock Entrepreneurial Speaker Series back in 2007. It was their very first event, and today is the 11th such speaker. Each year since that, we've had the good fortune to hear from a variety of entrepreneurs, people who have shared their personal stories, their insights with us. We began as the School of Accounting. We offered Canada's first accounting degree program, but since that century, throughout that past century, we've experienced constant evolution in our pursuit of excellent business education. Gordon and Maureen's vision, beginning in 2007, for sharing that entrepreneurial spirit is one way we push forward in that pursuit for exceptional business education. In fact, if I could just add, go off the script for a bit here, I am happy, proud that this upcoming fall semester, our Entrepreneurship and New Venture Development course that was, for the past several years, an elective within the school, will now become a core class in our undergraduate curriculum. The class that helped launch, and I look right at Brian, 320 Modular Solutions. The class that had the students who developed Skip the Dishes, and a number of other entrepreneurial ventures came from the University of Saskatchewan. That entrepreneurship class will help put us on the map of people, skills, and talent that can help push forward us as a School of Business and our students into exceptional business opportunities. With that, I'd like to invite Mr. Gordon Haddock to come forward and introduce today's special guest. Gordon.
Accreditation, this is not my speech, but that's pretty amazing because anybody who's traveled around Canada, you know, where there are tall buildings and flush toilets, they're always amazed that in Saskatoon, yes, we did that, or yes, we have that. So that's amazing feather in the college's hat to get that accreditation. It took lots of years and many people's efforts and numerous deans along the way. So well done. So thank you for the nice introduction. And as my much younger partner, Brian, always says to me, "You're just the pretty face of the organization, Gord." So I would be remiss without thanking the people who actually did all the hard work putting the event together, and that's Kelsey and the Edwards team. So thank you very much for doing that. I also wanted to thank those people who come out year after year to support us. And as I scan the room and see familiar faces, I notice there's quite a few newbies. And I thought I would explain what the goal of the speaker series is. And our objective is really quite simple. If we can inspire one person to start a business, then we have succeeded. Saskatchewan was built on entrepreneurialism, and Maureen and I hope to encourage its development through mentorship, scholarship, our speaker series. Plus, we've spent nearly 25 years nagging 6 different deans to make entrepreneurism a major in the college. The crack just came in the pavement. The first core class dealing with the university, and it's not the deans, the many deans, it's the university system. It makes glacial movement look fast to get anything changed. So now, when I was digging around gathering information on John and Bernice, I noted many similarities in their family and ours, and I actually just found out another one. My first name is John. Coincidence? You be the judge, huh? Secondly, I just found out, talking to John, we have started, Maureen and I have started 18 businesses. You guys have started 18 different businesses. Number 3, I think you can tell, John, by the look of my coat that we're both pretty snappy dressers. And this, of course, is the free ad for the 100th anniversary celebration this fall, September 20th to 23rd, celebrating the centennial of the college, which is pretty amazing. I wasn't here for all of it, just half the century, but another point. Although Maureen and I had started businesses back as early as 1973, I noted that you guys, along with us, started your business in Saskatoon in 1987, and that's when we moved back to Saskatoon and opened up our first body shop in May of that year, 2 days before Mother's Day. Another thing that may seem like a coincidence, you and your wife both work together, and you have your families involved in your business, as do we, and I'm quite sure the Saturday, Sunday supper table has some very interesting conversations and discussions, having had family involved. They always have a lot of good suggestions for the elders, right, John? And finally, we both have long marriages, and I note that you have 7 grandkids, but we only have 4. And obviously, John, you didn't buy your kids Netflix when it first came on air. Now, we do a bit of mentoring, and one of the things we bring up with new business people is to help them find and do things that no one else will do. And I was tickled to discover that this is something your company did when you first started. You traveled to remote locations that were not easy to staff, I would imagine, with projects that were most likely very difficult, and you built your company up from that base. And we love that approach, and it's one we strongly believe in. Always be the first to hold your hand up when the tough jobs are presented or the washrooms need cleaning. Do that, and you will be noticed in a crowd of competitors. Finally, here are some impressive facts. Our speaker and his family have built over 3,000 homes, and that is a staggering number. But what I really find intriguing about your companies is the amount of commercial product that you build. We are extremely fascinated by the World Trade Project, and we can hardly wait till you break ground on that. And we also hope that you get going on that condo building. And the proposed condo building would be the tallest building in Saskatchewan. And I love that. Go big or go home. And it reminded me of the old Saskatchewan joke. I said to Maureen, we could buy the penthouse and then watch our dog run away for at least 7, 8, 9 days on the top of that sucker. So without further teasing and fooling around, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Williams.
Well, thank you, Gord, Maureen, and Keith for the invitation to speak today in this wonderful facility, the Edwards School of Business there. It's truly an honor there. When Keith invited me to speak, I had to immediately reinforce with Keith what my credentials actually were there. I actually had to tell Keith I never attended university and that most of my high school teachers were generous enough to give me a pass mark for my grade 12 diploma. Keith was very gracious, however, and said that I may still have something to bring to the table there. So thank you, Keith, for that support there. Before I go too far, I'd like to introduce my family and my business partners who are here today there. They are one and the same there. Starting with my wife, Bernice Williams, of 40 years, and 31 years as my business partner. My daughter, Angela, who is a manager of customer relations at North Prairie Developments and also is a business partner in North Prairie. My son, Tyler, who is a commercial services at Canwest Commercial and Land Corp, and also our business partner in North Prairie. And my son, Andrew, who is the CEO of North Prairie Developments and is a business partner in North Prairie as well there. We are a family-owned group of companies, of some 16 in total, and we all work side by side with our staff and teams on a daily basis there. They never complain about working too hard, not too often anyway. My family all plans to stay for the reception tonight to mingle with you, so ask them whatever you want tonight. Today I'm going to give you a brief summary of our history, our businesses, and some of the life lessons we've learned over time. In conjunction, we'll run a PowerPoint of a few relevant and perhaps interesting slides there. So my wife Bernice will look after the technical side of it here on the slides there. So this is our original farmhouse there, and this little area right here was actually the very original farmhouse that my grandfather homesteaded in 1905 there. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the history of our family. I really do believe that our past history has shaped our characters as to who we are as a family of entrepreneurs today there. I also thought it might be particularly relevant given that we have a strong farming background in Saskatchewan and given the very strong relationship of the College of Agriculture with the University of Saskatchewan there. My family originated from the county of Wicklow in Ireland and sailed over in a boat called the Glen Lion just shortly after the potato famine in Ireland in 1853. They were supposed to land in Nova Scotia but landed in Savannah, Georgia. A year later, my great-grandfather immigrated to Walkerton, Ontario, where he homesteaded. A number of years later, my grandfather made his way to Saskatchewan to homestead north of Lanigan in 1905 there. My father was a successor for the farm and built the land base from 2 quarters to 10 quarters. Fast forwarding 113 years, my brother farms a family farm and has expanded it to 11,000 acres, which is a medium-sized farm in today's world there. Bernice's mother and father farmed north of Guernsey and had a dairy operation and were of Ukrainian and Polish descent. Bernice's mother had a particularly interesting story to her life. She was born in Poland, and during World War II, at the age of 13, she was taken to a German work camp in the middle of the night. When she was released from that camp at the end of the war there, she would never see her parents, her brothers or sisters again there. She had the opportunity to immigrate to Canada or to Australia, and eventually made her way to Viscount, Saskatchewan there. That was the very beginning of Bernice's family when her mother Mary married her Father Mac Bay there. At this point, you might ask yourself, what does this have to do with anything to do with entrepreneurs there? Here are a couple takeaways from this history that have shaped us as entrepreneurs there. The world of business doesn't often evolve as quickly as one would like it to. Success is often very long-term there. My father had a net worth of around 1 million after 100 years of farming there. I'm not sure what the internal rate of return it is, but the finance guys in this room can likely figure that out pretty quickly there on an annual basis there. We often think short term as entrepreneurs, but it's often a long game over significant periods of time. Compounding good investments, even with low rates of return, can be a great wealth creator there. As you can see from our forefathers' lives, that they too had a tremendous amount of adversity, especially in Bernice's mother's life. They experienced macro events, political policy, world markets, and many ups and downs over the years. The same events may well affect you as entrepreneurs today as well. Today we call a lot of these events disruptors, a little different naming on it, I guess. There will always be diversity and challenges in many ways. It'll be your job as an entrepreneur to accept the challenges and weave your way through the entrepreneurial world. I alluded earlier to my brother Don, who runs the family farm. I called him on Saturday there when I was writing my speech there. I usually leave things till about the last minute. But I asked him what his input costs might be today for planting his crop there. He ran through the numbers with me and came up with approximately $2 million for the inputs there for his farm there, and approximately $1.65 million for the capital items on an annual basis there, for a total of about $3.65 million there. When he plants his crop, he doesn't know if he'll ever receive any type of return there. It could be drought, could be hail, could be early frost, bugs eat his crop, etc., etc. there. He's a true entrepreneur, and he risks everything each spring. My brother Don's situation is not unlike a lot of entrepreneurs there. And I just put a caption here, farmers are some of the greatest entrepreneurs because they take a lot of risk every day. So, this is just about our early days there. And my background was originally actually in refrigeration and air conditioning. And I became an interprovincial journeyman by the time I was 20 and a half years old there. I started my own refrigeration company when I was 20 years old and married Bernice when I was 21 there. I recognized quickly that I needed someone to keep me organized and do our books as well as provide for me with a little compassion, so that's where Bernice came in there. Bernice and I ran our business called Williams Refrigeration for 6 years. Unfortunately, we were highly leveraged in the early 80s with 3 houses, 2 commercial buildings, and mortgage interest rates at 21% back in the early 80s there. We weren't able to continue our business, and in our last year of business, we only made around $8,000 there between the two of us there. We moved to Saskatoon with our young family in tow, who I introduced you to here tonight there, and I went to work for Honeywell Controls and Johnson Controls until 1987 there. At the same time, Bernice held down the fort with our children and ran a small daycare out of our house, while I worked my regular job and moonlighted out of necessity there to pay our previous debts. I can say we were very proud not to claim bankruptcy, but we were certainly good candidates for it at that time. In 1987, we formed North Prairie Homes, later to become North Prairie Developments there, as it is today there. We built our first house on Swan Crescent in Lake Ridge, which is that one right there. And only to break even after I framed it. I did all the finishing and Bernice did all the painting there. The market was not good in 1987. Wrong timing. But we quickly repositioned ourselves and started bidding some work in northern Saskatchewan for SaskTel and CMHC. We went on to use our skill sets and enhance these very quickly to build and renovate 30 SaskTel buildings in the province. There you can see some of those buildings up here. And this was a project we did in Rankin Inlet at the time there. This was my camp trailer. I spent about 180 days a year in there at one time. So so we built in a lot of the hot spots in northern Saskatchewan during that time, in the Losh, Pelican Narrows, the Chambeau Lake, Sandy Bay there, and a dozen other places. That morphed into teacherages, health centers, water treatment plants, and a number of other projects in Northwest Territories, including the CBC building Rankin Inlet. I was on the road in work camps for 150 to 180 days per year during that time. Our children would join us at places like Isla Cross on a long weekend there. They would drive the Bobcat around while I looked after the site supervision of a 24-unit house project there. So that was the way our original long weekends were spent in business there. These projects over a 10-year period provided our company with the capital to become more involved as a home builder in Saskatoon and Regina there. In our early years of establishing ourselves, we learned a little, and here's a few things we learned there. Leverage, it can be your friend or your foe. We've been on both sides. Our lesson from the early ages of high interest mold is only to leverage up to 50% on real estate and pay for development land in cash. We currently only leverage about 20% today in Canwest there. Although some of my development cohorts there, they would leverage up 110% if they had the opportunity, but that's timing. A lot of investment professionals say don't time the market in the equity world. In the development world, timing is everything. As you have heard, my timing was not very good in 1987 there. Skill sets, we didn't have all the skill sets, but we learned our new skill sets quickly. My skill sets were in refrigeration, air conditioning, and it's amazing how quickly you can learn when you want to or you need to out of necessity there. All of you will come out of University of Saskatchewan with a new set of skills. You'll likely expand on those skill sets as well in many different ways as you may not have imagined there initially there. And adversity there, as you have heard, we quickly responded to change and repositioned our company that we thought was going to work well there. We thought we had the ultimate business plan. We went from building homes in Saskatoon to being a commercial contractor in northern Saskatchewan and the Northwest Territories to back being a home builder in Saskatoon again. Our world today there, today our family actively runs two main businesses there. North Prairie Developments, which is our housing and our condominium side in Saskatoon and Regina, and Canwest Commercial and Land Corp, which is our land and our commercial property that we own there. We also have another 14 other companies that are partnered companies or project-specific companies that are also managed daily there. To date, we've built 3,000 single and multifamily homes in Saskatoon and Regina there. We've developed 4 significant land subdivisions and have a current subdivision of 600 acres, which is just being annexed into the city of Martensville there. So that'll be our next project on the land side. In addition to our single family and multifamily, we have about 350,000 square feet of commercial properties which we own and manage in a variety of different ways there. One of our latest projects we're currently working on is the World Trade Center in Saskatoon, which former Mayor Don Atchison is currently working on with us there. The World Trade Center, just to give you a little bit of a bio on it there, it's an association associated with the World Trade Center in New York there. And there's 325 World Trade Centers around the world in 89 countries there. Our company, Canwest, bought the licensing for Saskatoon and also has the first right of refusal in Regina for a future World Trade Center there as well there. Anyhow, that's what we've learned from everything we've been doing lately there. We get a great sense of accomplishment out of doing development projects there. We also learned that going too many directions there, and you need to focus and realign yourselves at times there. I added in, fill your wagon full, just let some bounce off and let's put a few more back on. This is an add-on to Maureen Haddock's book, Get a Bigger Wagon there. So, passion, you have to be passionate about your business. It'll show through otherwise there. And risk, well, there's always going to be risk there. You can mitigate some of it there, but you can't be risk adverse there. And people and team, surround yourself with a great team and good advisors and professional services there. They'll be invaluable to you. Strategic planning, we all need to sit down once in a while in a room without our cell phones to truly think about our direction for business and our personal lives there. Change is constant in the world today. Disruptors can be good for business there. Change creates a lot of opportunity. But most of all, have some fun there. Don't be too busy not to have some fun. Lastly, you need to sell something. Every day you need to sell your company, your product, and yourself there. It doesn't happen on its own there. So like any good entrepreneur there, I made sure that we brought some of our product to show you today. And they're in stands around here. And along with a few new future projects there. And any one of our family, you can leave your deposit with them there. Or, and I think we accept all types of currency. You can have checks, cash, Visa, Bitcoins, direct deposit, gold coins. We're good with it all. So. If we don't have it right here, we'll figure it out. So. I added in some interesting sayings that kind of, come from my time over the years. And I've listened to a lot of old sayings that have a lot of entrepreneurs have experienced in real life there. And so for whatever it means, here they are there. For every bad day, there's a good day around the corner there. I had a few of those there, and I always reminded myself of this saying. So, a good friend of mine always said, the harder I worked, the luckier I got. When you have very little to lose, you have everything to gain there. I guess that's the way I felt back in the early 80s there after I was virtually bankrupt there. And one that's a little bit cheesy, but it's be cheap, be busy there. And, today you get compared in the market fairly often there with everything you do there. So price means a lot there, even though lots of times we don't put much emphasis on that. But one Bernice's dad instilled in me there, build the barn and the house will build itself there. So he thought I was maybe buying a few too many toys at the time there. So I made sure I read that Rich Dad, Poor Dad book as well. It's lonely at the top there, and it is lonely there sometimes there. And when you're in there on July long weekend when everybody's at the lake and you have a proposal that has to be turned out for the next week there, there's not too many people around there. And the family that works together stays together. It's an old Saskatchewan saying there. So. And we have a lot of family we work with there. So I've experienced most of these sayings over the years in one way or another there. I just made a couple notes of what makes an entrepreneur, and here's a few other things you can put in your toolbox for future reference there. Get out and circulate there. You always need to be out there all the time there. Answer your phone in the first ring. You might only get one call from whoever that customer is there. And we've always instilled that in our people there, in our operation there. And sometimes things are simpler than we make them. Very often we make things complicated in life, but the guy really just wants to buy a house, or he wants to lease something or do something with you there. We go off in some tangent there, some different direction there, and we lose the deal by the time we're done there. So, listen very well to the customer there. Oftentimes we misinterpret what that customer actually wants there, and today we listen very well to the customer there. Be careful about partnerships there. Partnerships are good, but remember, even a minority partner can cause you a lot of grief there in a company as well there. So there's no such thing like a short work day. 60 hours a week is often the norm, and I'm still there today myself there. So and then work smart. Don't get caught up in small stuff there. You know, Bernice counts the paper clips in our company, so I don't worry about that. So there's lots of noise around us every day. You really have to dissect all that noise that's around you and take it for what it's worth there. You have a business to run, and you're an entrepreneur, and you have to go out and get the business there. So you really have to decide what's real and what isn't real there, what difference it makes to you in your world there. There's money in repetition. Oftentimes people build multiple different things in multiple different ways and all that sort of thing. Repetition's a good thing. A lot of our models of our houses will build 100 to 200 times their same model, different siding, different colors, that sort of thing. But we know our costs on those things right down to the last dollar there. And they're easy to repeat. Framers can frame them twice as fast. Everybody can do their thing quicker there. So look over your shoulder constantly. Your competition is coming there. Might not catch you right away, but you want to make sure you're aware of where they're at there, and that you're watching it anyway there. And then that leads into constant innovation is a necessity there. Stay grounded, know where the rubber meets the road there. You really do need to know what's happening in every part of your operation there. You don't have to micromanage, but you do need to know what's happening there. And your reputation is everything there. You have to believe in yourself there. You need to be a lifelong learner there. Listen to your gut. Lots of times your gut tells you the answer there, to whether you should be in a business deal or not in a business deal there. Create the right value equation for your customer there. The customer is going to analyze the price, the product, everything that you do to put that together, and he'll decide at the end of the day if you have the right value equation or not there. Look for the low-hanging fruit and reach higher if you need to. Lots of people reach way too high there in business there, and they get into something that's really far out there. Take the lower hanging fruit first, and if you need to go higher, reach for it afterwards there. Give back to your community in time and or money there. So now that I scared you, you probably wonder why you'd ever want to be an entrepreneur there. In closing, Saskatchewan and Saskatoon have a tremendous number of entrepreneurs that have grown up in Saskatoon and have businesses here or have migrated to other provinces or other countries there. Our strong work ethic, our honesty, our integrity, where you can still do a handshake deal, and our institutions like the University of Saskatchewan and the Edwards School of Business, which are world class, have produced and continue to produce some of the finest entrepreneurs in the country, if not the world. The roots of these entrepreneurs are always recognized in Saskatchewan. People like Gordon Maureen, Murray Edwards, Brett Wilson, and so many more always give back to our community there. Please provide a round of applause for all these wonderful people. Saskatchewan is a great spot for entrepreneurs. There are so many opportunities that exist today there. We have a very strong global presence, and we're large global traders. There is more capital available today than there ever has been for startups. The access to the rest of the world is at your fingertips there with literally the click of a button. The access to international flights is greater than it's ever been there. The resources provided for entrepreneurs are huge in Saskatoon and Saskatchewan there. With all that said, thank you for inviting me here today. I've truly enjoyed being able to share the experience, and a large thank you to Gordon, Maureen, Haddock, Keith Willoughby, and his staff that have put all this together, and my own family for coming as well there. I have 2 last slides to give you, and a good reason why you might want to consider being an entrepreneur there. We also have a couple giveaways. We'll draw for those, I guess, shortly after. But Bernice, you can put on slide 25 there. So why wouldn't you want to be an entrepreneur? And better go for it. And the last slide is one of a fast car there. It says drive hard and drive safe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to have your words. And also, again, do want to acknowledge Mr. Atchison. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate your time and you're with us. Now, before we do the draw, we actually have an opportunity for some question and answers. So, John, if you want to come up here. Sure. I think this is the chance for our participants, our students, faculty and staff who are here for questions they might have. So, the front row.
John, thank you so much for sharing with us. A lot of your words really resonated with me. It sounds like you have many exciting, wonderful projects. How do you evaluate which projects to become involved in?
Well, we always keep a basket of projects all the time there. We probably have 8 or 10 things that we always are working with on a regular basis there. Some of them are timing, some of them are, do we have zoning, do we have, is the market right for this niche project or that niche project there, that sort of thing. So is the economy right there? Is there, those type of things. So we really just keep pulling from that basket there, and that's kind of the way we do it anyway there. So.
That sounds like fun.
And there is a roving mic if.
Are you going to build the tallest building?
Well, the tallest building was actually replaced by the World Trade Center there, but we do have room for that building to be reversed on that site and built on the Haltane site there, right next to it at some point there. In today's world, in the marketplace there, we probably will just hold tight there for a little while on that. So,
Well, I'm just thinking of, all the age wave retiring and downsizing, looking for new places to live, the success of the River Landing project selling out. Now, I know there's a lot of speculation probably in that building, but it kind of shows that there's some demand, and I know a lot of people moving from small towns to get to the city to.
Tyler. Well, the downtown certainly is changing there, and that's thanks to the past mayor and council there, Don Atchison there, and there will be a lot more high-rise product in Saskatoon as time goes on there. We completed Shangri-La, which is a project right behind us there. It was only 10 stories there, but that was kind of the beginning of our high-rise or mid to high-rise product there. But we have a basket. We talked about a basket earlier, and one that's in our basket right now is one that Andrew and Angela are working on there, and that project is at the corner of Clarence and College. It's a Ramey site there, and we're just working with the city on that project right now. So it'll depend where we feel the market is at the time there. We have about another year of approvals there for that particular project, so it'll be one of those projects.
Hi. First off, thank you for coming to speak to the students especially. This just really means a lot for us, for you to come here and share your experiences. As an aspiring entrepreneur, I know that there are going to be challenges ahead for me, and definitely difficult times and times of failure. So can maybe you share one moment where you failed, perhaps, and what you gained from that failure and how you move forward through that, and also maybe some things that help you motivate you when times get tough.
Well, that's a good question. There's probably a few times in my life where we had failures and that sort of thing. I mentioned one back in the early 80s there when I had the people from, bankruptcy court there at my door there, serving me with papers there. So that was one time I didn't really have too much fun there. So, but you know, we bounced back from that, and it's all about adversity and your ability to drive back every day there and get up the next morning and say, hey, let's go for it again there and that sort of thing. And, you know, that's really what we've done. And we haven't really failed in a lot of things there, but some projects maybe didn't go right there. At times there was a lot of product in the market and that sort of thing. The last couple of years in business have been a lot tougher in the housing business there, so we you know, you create new programs and that sort of thing, and you come up with new ideas, innovation there, and that type of stuff there. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah.
John, I'm curious, so you had this sort of failure at the beginning, bankruptcy guy on your doorstep, and you decided, you know, you went out and got a normal job to pay off those debts, and then you made the decision to go back into business. So take me through sort of what made you get back into business and not just keep that normal job you had that was paying the bills.
Well, you know, I've always really kind of wanted to be in business there. Even when we were younger there, we did certain things there. I think I grew potatoes when I was a young guy there and sold them to the local ShopRite store. And then I had a little welding shop where we built and fabricated some stuff for livestock and that sort of thing. And then we had our refrigeration company there when I was quite young there. And I guess I was always motivated to be in business there and that sort of thing. So my time with Johnson Controls and Honeywell Controls was really just an interim move there. And when we sold our house in 1984, I guess it was, I had $25,000, or we had $25,000 left over there. So that $25,000 was really what started our business in 1987 there. So, yeah.
This question in the back. At what point during your business did you realize that, hey, this is actually going to work? This is actually going to become successful? At what point?
Well, you know, I think I still get up every morning. I say, well, where's my next sale coming from there, and what happened on the weekend, and where we're going to in the next month or 2 months, and that sort of thing there. So I think success is kind of a continuing type of thing there, and you can't always say that you're too big to fail either there. A lot of very large housing companies in Alberta and Saskatchewan there have failed over the years there. So I think you always want to keep that in the back of your mind, that you always can fail there, and I've never gotten over that at all anyway, and so I always say there, you know, that what's happening and what have we got going. And, yeah. When I started in business, there was around 70, I think it was 74 home builders in Saskatoon in 1987 there. In today's world, there's really only about 4 of those home builders that are left there from when I started there. And one of them's Wally Ma there with Northridge there, Ehrenberg Homes there, Joe Air there, and Vito and his crew there with Valentino Homes there. You know, Boychuk reorged there back in 1990, so they're still here, but they're reorged there. So.
We have time for one more question.
John, I would love to, you talk about working really hard, you obviously get a lot of joy from it. I wonder if your family might comment and talk about what that, you obviously were away a lot, they chose to work in the company. So you've raised your children together, your wife's had a huge impact on that. I'd love to hear a little bit about what drove them to be involved in the family business, and your wife's motivation as well for sustaining that entrepreneurial spirit in Saskatoon. That's pretty impressive, a whole family of entrepreneurs.
No, I'd love for you to ask that question, Andrew or Tyler, Angela. One of you guys want to answer that?
Well, I think just from seeing mom and dad work pretty hard and every weekend and on the holidays and stuff there, having that opportunity to see their successes or their hard work turn into successes over time there, that's a pretty inspiring thing as you go through life there. So in my case, and I think both Tyler and Angela probably attest to it too, you kind of gravitate towards a business there. It's got kind of a grip that pulls you in and hard. And John talks a lot about hard work and stuff and long hours. When you're doing something that you're really passionate about, it doesn't always seem like hard work there. So that helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So before I turn the time back to Gord, maybe just one final question, and it's a bit of a loaded question, maybe two parts here. So you mentioned, John, that your participation on Merlis Belcher Place. So what's been your, I guess, role on that?
Well, actually, Andrew kind of headed that up. And Andrew, you want to talk a little bit about Merlis Belcher Place there? It was just part of our philanthropy there. And
Yeah. I guess in Merlis Belcher, in that case where we decided to do a donation there, that made up one piece of our overall philanthropy there. So within that year, I think you guys saw some slides that we contributed to the Ramey Modern Art Gala, Merlis Belcher. What else did we do? Wanuskewin. So for us, it was just more of an overall piece of giving back to the entire community there. We did have some strong business connections and also some ties to the university where we want to support the education system there as well.
Well, on behalf of the hockey fans who've had rust fall on them at Rutherford Rink, so thank you. We're looking forward next year. So, John, thank you, John.
thank you very much.
Okay. Apparently, I'll bring up Gord in a second, but I think we're going to do this is the drawing. So, if I could have somebody come up and audit this process here. We have a volunteer to come up and make the this. Oh, Mr. Williams, go ahead.
Oh, we're drawing for a golf shirt?
It's Keith Willoughby. Thank you. Evan Bell. It's got to be Chase. Number 2, Chase. Everyone knows Chase, so. Thanks. Austin, is it Heinz? Yeah. Heinz? Thanks, Austin. This will be the last one. It's not Keith Willoughby. Nick Sackville. Nick Sackville? There we are. So bring up Gord Haddock for final words of advice, Gord.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank our speaker and his family for coming out. And it's funny when you're giving your talk and saying those things, and I look around at certain people who are entrepreneurs and are like, oh yeah, yep, yep. Because I still have my mortgage book from 1970, and it starts at 6%. And we went through the 80s period where prime was 19%. So, yeah, those were really fun times. So I know some of our younger students kind of find that hard to believe, prime at 19, and then you added on what the bank wanted. So, yeah, it was a little bit different. But the one thing that struck me, and the one thing that the lessons we've learned is, and something that we're both similar, is we were married at 21. Well, she made me marry her. She said she was going to leave and marry somebody else. And that, I mean, we'd only been dating since we were 12. I was only 9 years. I wasn't sure yet. But I think that is, in our world, the number one most important thing you can do as an entrepreneur is find the right life partner, period. Everything else is below that, and everything else will fall into place, because you're going to have trials and tribulations. You might take your wife from a nice 1,800 square foot home on 10th Street just off Broadway and put her in a 600 square foot house with a dirt basement. And she says she likes it. Because you had this great idea about a business. So anyways, do that. And if you have the same goals and objectives, pretty well everything else falls into place. But you got to have a team, because it just doesn't work. And the second thing struck me too is, and there was a question from over here, was what made you go back? Or Brian, maybe you did it. What made you go back? Well, failure is worth about 5 degrees. So why would you get all those degrees and then not use it? And I've seen a lot. I have friends who have started businesses and failed and then quit. So they got all that knowledge about failure and what not to do, and then they just went and worked for somebody. And I don't think they were all that happy, but I don't think that their life partner wanted to go through the stress and strain again. So that's it. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, find the right life partner. So I wish we could say, geez, we got beer and pizza and everything, but we don't. So I guess I'm done, boss. Well, we've got, I couldn't see where it was, so you take home.
That's right. Yeah, so we do have a reception here. So in the student lounge, just on the other side of the doors there, for all of our guests who've been here today to participate with asking the Haddocks, asking the Williams, and just mingling together. So folks, a round of applause to those who participated. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Appreciate it.